Okay, so over 3.7 million ratings on Goodreads, nominated for Best Historical Fiction. I mean, a book's really landed when you see numbers like that.
Absolutely.
We're doing a deep dive today into The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and the premise alone, it just hooks you, right?
It really does.
This legendary Hollywood star, totally reclusive, finally decides to spill everything.
Ah.
But she picks this basically unknown magazine reporter to tell her story.
Yeah, the big question is just why her?
Yeah.
It pulls you right in.
Exactly.
And, for this deep dive, we've gone through a lot of the material you all shared with us, YouTube reviews, Wikipedia synopsis, Goodreads threads, some Reddit discussions too.
Right.
The idea is to really unpack why this particular story has resonated so much. What's the magic here?
So Evelyn Hugo, we're talking like golden age Hollywood icon, been out of the spotlight for ages.
Mhm.
And then, bam, she reaches out to Monique Grant. She's a reporter at Vivant, and obviously she's just completely floored by this.
You would be. It's not
Ah.
just, an interview. This could make her entire career.
Totally.
And Evelyn's apparently ready to reveal everything. The truth behind all 7 marriages, how she climbed to the top, the scandals, all of it.
So our mission basically is to figure out what makes this historical fiction novel tick.
Yeah, we want to look at the old Hollywood stuff, the characters who are super complex, how it explores love and identity, and just why people connect with it so strongly.
Okay, let's get into it then. One thing that jumped out, I saw this in a YouTube review, was how the book really shows the grind of staying famous in Hollywood.
Right. It's not all glitz.
No, it's presented as this constant, brutal fight to stay relevant. What does that say about, Hollywood then, maybe even now?
Well, it's interesting how it uses Evelyn's story to show just how fragile fame can be, right?
Yeah.
You see her constantly having to reinvent herself, making these strategic moves, and the emotional cost of living under that microscope. It makes you think about the actual person behind the shiny image.
Yeah.
And putting that in a historical context, it shows how maybe some pressures change, but maybe some things kind of stay the same.
Good point. And speaking of first impressions, we saw this reading vlogger who was just like buzzing about the book right from the start.
Mhm.
Just the basic setup. Evelyn's life from the 50s, leaving showbiz in the 80s, the 7 husbands, obviously, and this hint of some forbidden love that somehow connects to Monique.
Yeah, that connection is key.
It had her totally hooked. She called Evelyn a super badass woman after just like 5 chapters.
Yeah, you get that sense early on.
That immediate pull, both from Evelyn's personality and that mystery of why Monique, it really sets things up.
And calling her a badass so early, I think that speaks to her agency.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all the limits of the time and the industry,
Right.
and that question, why Monique? It's like the engine of the plot, isn't it?
Yeah.
It keeps you reading because it's not just going to be a celebrity tell-all. There's something deeper going on.
Okay, so let's talk husbands. Each one is like a whole chapter of her life. The vlogger really zoned in on Harry Cameron,
Harry, yeah.
highlighted how he was almost like inventing the public Evelyn early on, even pushing her to date other people, which is pretty wild considering they get married later.
It is fascinating, yeah.
His section was called The Biggest, and Harry himself, brilliant, kind-hearted, and tortured.
That sums them up pretty well based on the descriptions.
Then they eventually marry, have their daughter, Connor. Seems like this perfect life for a while.
On the surface.
Which makes the fallout even rougher, right? When Evelyn does that film with her ex, Don Adler, and it messes up her friendship with Celia St. James, leading to their divorce.
Yeah, that perfect image shatters.
Yeah.
What is Harry's early role, managing her image? Tell us about the power dynamics back then.
Well, it really underlines how much a star's image, even their private life, was kind of manufactured, controlled by others.
Yeah, not always by them.
Harry orchestrating her dating life, it feels so calculated, building the specific persona.
But then him becoming this loving husband and dad later, it adds that genuine connection that contrasts with the early, manipulation.
Right.
Makes their split even more, sad. It shows that tension between the public mask and what's real.
Okay, next. Don Adler, husband number 2.
Don. Yeah.
The vlogger found surprising depth here, not just about Don, but how it develops Evelyn's relationship with Celia St. James. They started as rivals, right?
Yeah, initially competitors.
But then that story about Evelyn kissing the TV screen when Celia thanked her at an awards show and chipping her tooth.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's such a great little detail.
It shows how intense their bond became, doesn't it?
It really does. Raw emotion under all that Hollywood stuff.
We also hear about Dawn getting engaged later to someone named Ruby Riley, just part of that whole gossip machine the book captures.
Keeps the world feeling real. How does that Evelyn and Celia relationship evolving from rivalry kind of feed into the book's themes?
Well, it really shows how connections can pop up unexpectedly, even when you think you're competing.
Right. Transcending the surface level stuff.
It points to this deeper understanding and respect growing between them. That chipped tooth moment, perfect example of the real feelings under the glamour.
I totally agree.
Then McRiva, husband number 3. Very short marriage, right after Dawn.
Yeah, blink and you miss it almost.
But the main point seems to be the consequences. Evelyn gets blacklisted, and this fake feud with Celia starts swirling around.
Right, it shows how fast things can turn.
And how damaging that public perception can be.
Exactly. That brief marriage really highlights how shaky fame is, how easily your reputation can be ruined by scandal, real, or, just made up.
Yeah.
And the blacklisting shows the power the studios and media had back then to just control everything.
Scary stuff.
Yep.
Okay, after Mick comes Rex North.
Rex, husband number 4.
This one sounds purely strategic, like a business arrangement to boost both their careers, help their movie, no love, easy divorce.
Sounds very pragmatic.
Yeah, transactional is the word that comes to mind.
It really starkly shows that cynical side of the industry, doesn't it? Where relationships are just another tool for ambition.
Then Max Gerard, husband number 6. The vlogger called this part heartbreaking and said big secrets come out.
Okay, so the emotional stakes are getting higher here.
Yeah, you can feel it building.
Heartbreaking suggests, a real turning point, where the deeper truths about her life, her motives, probably start surfacing. Big impact.
And husband number 7, finally, is Robert Jameson, Celia's younger brother. Part of the big finale, wrapping things up.
Ah, Celia's brother.
Okay, sounds like this is when all the threads start coming together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fair
That
enough.
final marriage would likely connect everything, give context for the ultimate reveals. And the family link to Celia is obviously huge.
Which brings us right to the heart of it, really. Evelyn and Celia.
The central relationship, many would say.
The vlogger said it developed beautifully, even with that initial rivalry. But it's also just so sad. Their separation, getting back together later, and then Celia getting sick and dying. Evelyn saying they just didn't have enough time.
Wow. Yeah, that detail really hits hard.
And it's interesting that Harry was also seen as a soulmate. It seems like the book explores love in different ways.
It does. It's not just one kind of love. What do you think showing that central same-sex relationship in that historical setting does for readers?
Well, presenting this really profound love story between 2 women back in old Hollywood, it provides representation you don't always see in stories about that time.
Definitely. Visibility.
It highlights the hidden realities, right? The struggles people faced if their lives didn't fit the mold. Adds real depth.
In historical way, yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that she had these deep bonds with both Celia and Harry, it kind of broadens our idea of what love and soulmates can even mean.
True. Then we get to what the vlogger called the craziest part.
Ah, the twist.
The connection between Monique Grant and Evelyn Hugo. We won't spoil it, obviously.
No spoilers.
But it changes how you see everything. And then the actual ending. Evelyn's death by suicide after getting a cancer diagnosis, similar to her daughter's. It's heavy.
Very powerful, very tragic conclusion. How does that twist, that connection, really land in terms of the overall themes?
Well, finding out the link between Monique and Evelyn, it just adds this huge layer of meaning to the whole thing, doesn't it?
It makes it personal.
Yeah, it shows Evelyn's choice wasn't random at all. Her story directly impacts Monique.
Right. And Evelyn's final decision, echoing her daughter, it brings up themes of legacy, wanting control over your own story, right to the very end.
And the power of family ties, even through tragedy.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift a bit to the broader themes, how the book was received. A huge positive mentioned everywhere was the representation.
Yeah, that came up a lot.
Interracial relationships, bisexual, lesbian, gay characters, especially seeing that within a historical fiction context, people really responded to that.
Why do you think that resonated so much?
I think including diverse characters in that setting lets readers see experiences like theirs reflected in places they might not expect.
Yeah, challenges the old narratives.
It shows that diverse lives and loves have always been there, even if hidden. It's validating, gives a richer picture of the past.
Absolutely. And there was that quote about intimacy, too, that seemed to hit home for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, the one about intimacy being truth, not just sex.
That's the one. When you realize you can tell someone your truth, when you stand in front of them bare And their response is, "You're safe with me." That's intimacy.
Wow. Yeah, that really captures the core of the connections in the book, doesn't it?
It beautifully sums up that core theme, I think. The hunger for real connection, the vulnerability it takes.
Especially in Evelyn's world, all about image.
Exactly. In a world of masks, being truly seen and accepted, that's the ultimate intimacy. It resonates because it's such a basic human need beyond fame or anything else.
And Evelyn herself, consistently described as just magnetic, but so complex.
Definitely not simple.
Flawed, yeah. Ambitious, ruthless sometimes, but also capable of real love, real loyalty. People compared her to Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor. These huge, iconic figures.
What makes a character like that, someone kind of morally gray, so compelling?
I think characters who aren't purely good or bad just feel more real, more relatable, maybe.
Like actual people.
Yeah, her flaws make her believable, but those moments of love, they show her humanity. It makes her someone you can't just easily label or forget. She makes you think about why she does things.
Good point. What about Monique? Opinions seemed a bit more divided there.
Yeah, some felt she was a bit underdeveloped, maybe overshadowed by Evelyn.
Understandable, given Evelyn's force of personality.
But others really liked her journey, seeing her grow, and appreciated her being our eyes and ears into Evelyn's world. What's her main job in the story, do you think?
Well, even though Evelyn's story is front and center, Monique's more than just like a tape recorder.
Right.
Her own understanding of Evelyn evolves. She grows personally. That's a parallel story that lets us, the readers, process everything. She's kind of the bridge between Evelyn's past and our present.
Offers a modern lens on it all.
Yeah, exactly.
And the setting itself, old Hollywood. All the glamour, but also the corruption, the dark side, that was a huge draw.
Oh, absolutely. People felt immersed.
Those little newspaper clippings people mentioned, they really helped sell it too.
Adds that touch of authenticity. How does that specific time and place really add to the story's impact?
I think old Hollywood works so well because it just amplifies all those themes: fame, image, secrets, lies.
The perfect backdrop.
Yeah, the glamour makes the harsh realities stand out even more. And using real historical flavor like the clippings, it just grounds the whole fictional story in this really compelling era.
Makes it feel tangible.
And emotionally. Wow, this book clearly hit people hard. We saw comments about readers actually crying, feeling all sorts of things.
Yeah, it sounds like a real roller coaster.
A proper emotional journey.
And that strong reaction just shows how well the author built those characters and situations.
Definitely.
By digging into love, loss, ambition, identity so honestly, it lets readers really connect with Evelyn's life on a gut level.
Of course, it wasn't universal praise. Some found the start slow or had issues with the writing style. Some called it a bit simplistic.
Yeah, you always get different takes.
And that whole debate, is it just a fun beach read or something deeper? Plus a few questions about historical accuracy here and there.
Sure, reader experiences are always personal, aren't they? Pacing, style, depth.
Yeah.
It hits everyone differently.
Right.
The beach read thing often just means it's super engaging and readable, which isn't a bad thing. Others might be looking for more literary complexity.
And historical fiction always invites discussion about accuracy. It's all part of the conversation around a popular book.
Exactly.
Finally, the adaptations. There was that TV show that got canceled.
Right, that didn't happen.
But now there's a Netflix film coming. Lots of excitement, but also, some nervousness from fans.
Always tricky adapting a beloved book.
Totally.
The fact that people want an adaptation shows how popular it is, how visual the story feels. But yeah, fans get attached to their version, so there's always that mix of hope and worry about how it'll translate.
So wrapping this up, what are the big reasons you think that The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo just clicked with so many people?
I think ultimately it's a powerful mix. You've got this really captivating story full of secrets and drama and real emotion. You have Evelyn Hugo herself, truly unforgettable, complex, fascinating protagonist.
Absolutely.
And then it digs into these big universal themes. Ambition, all the different kinds of love, figuring out who you are, all set against that incredible, vividly drawn old Hollywood backdrop.
Yeah, that sounds right. It's quite the package.
It really is.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Thinking about Evelyn Hugo, her relentless drive, the sacrifices she made, what do you think really makes a life well lived?
Ooh, good question.
Is it hitting all those big goals, achieving fame and fortune? Or is it more about the realness of the connections you make, like with Celia or Harry, even if those connections are complicated or hidden?
That really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? The clash between public success and personal truth. Evelyn's whole life forces you to ask what truly matters in the end. What price are we willing to pay for what we want?
Heavy stuff to ponder. We'd love to hear what you think about Evelyn Hugo, or if there are other books or topics you want us to tackle in future deep dives.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Until next time, keep exploring.